Islam, family, Islam. We're gonna try this one more time. One more time. Yeah, they kicked us off, but I got something for them today. So, Islam to the family. We're gonna do this part two of the interview with the family from Germany. Islam to the Empress Nita. We're gonna wait, till she sends me a request because just like yesterday, every time I try to, add someone into the video, the whole video shuts down. So, Islam family, we ain't gonna have too many technical difficulties today. We gonna make sure we, iron all this stuff out. So, give us a minute. Yeah, so I'm wait for the sister to come in. She's trying to get into the old video, the one that they just cut off. Now you see I'm going live, family, right now, but they have the video they just cut off still going live. So she's trying to connect to that video. So let's see if she can connect to this video, family. So Islam to the family, peace, love, and light, and we're just going over a part two from the interview we did yesterday. So here she is. Let's bring her in.
See?
All right,
Hello.
all right. Islam.
Hi.
We good today. We good today. I got something for him today. I got some spiritual backup today. So, yeah.
Okay. I hope we won't get interrupted today. Oh, won't be interrupted today.
We're not gonna get interrupted. I got some spiritual power from today. I got some power from the ancestors today. So, I
Okay.
got it covered.
I
So,
think we should start with the question that I had yesterday that they just didn't want you to answer that.
yeah, yeah. So, did we answer it, or like you wanna try it again, or how you?
It was hard, to hear what you said. So
Yeah.
I think we should do it again, and who knows, maybe some people are tuning in. They haven't watched it yesterday.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Well, let's do that then. So yeah, let's revisit that question. And
okay.
yeah. So but before we start, I'm just gonna I'm gonna bring in some spiritual power from the ancestors, right, to take care of this interview today. So I got my custom made Mason wine glass here, right? I picked this up in Houston, from the ancestors. And
Hmm.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna do like a spiritual calling on of the ancestors, while we're doing this broadcast. We're gonna wake up a lot of spirits, I'm saying, today with this information. And yeah, Islam, yeah, Mason wine glass family. So I got some friends with me today, and if anybody's familiar with because everyone's screaming that they're not religious, but they're spiritual, and they don't understand the spiritual side of this thing. So if anybody gets familiar with our spiritual practices that they said came from Africa, but they originated here, like Ifa, Palo Mayombe, Santeria, Voodoo, right? They call it voodoo, but all these things they translate to spiritual atoms. You can't see either one, but they both exist. So
Yeah.
I have my two Yoruba statues here, and we went into it yesterday when you asked me, you thought that the spiritual, the religious headdress that we wear, the fez,
Yeah.
you thought that the Masons started that and we copied them, and then I showed you the research, but the connection of Mason is break the word down. Mason, my son, mother and son, and the connection between mother and son and the planet and the cosmos. So Mason is mother's son. So every man is a son of mine. So I'm gonna show you my two Masons here. This is my E5 statues here.
Oh, nice. You anymore?
The
Okay,
Mason.
now.
Yeah, this is the Mason.
Very nice.
And I got that candle there because they show you
Mm-hmm.
this guy here, but St. Peter's was a Moor, and they have a statue of him, at one of their churches. But we'll get into that in another build. And I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna pour libations to the ancestors, and we're gonna call upon their names, and I'm gonna light the candle, and we're gonna get started. So just give me a second. And also, I got my singing bowl here, right? And this is the heart chakra, right? It's the heart chakra. We're gonna open,
Okay.
we're gonna open up that heart chakra today, because
hear you again.
How about now?
Yeah, yeah. It was like you said something, but I couldn't hear you, and then it was like fast forwarding. So,
Yeah. I
but
guess
now it's good.
when I switch the cameras, I don't know, the headset or something, but we're gonna fix that. So now, the whole building of masonry and all this stuff is our science, and all of these other societies and all these groups and nationalities, they're using our science in private, and in public they're pretending like they don't know who we are or who our ancestors were. So we're gonna
Yep.
point the room and prosperity, abundance, peace, love, and light to the family. Let's put that positive vibration onto that candle. You never want to light a candle, before you say positive affirmation. And when it's a new
Okay.
candle, you always clip the tip of the candle before you light it. You make it yours, you personalize it. And, we got that water for the ancestors. We're going to pour it up. So I'm going to pour up, and then we'll spiritually pour up. And, let's just salute to the ancestors. So anyone that has an ancestor that you might transition from this time. And 1111, that's the master number in numerology, the master number of the magician, which is my number as well. So we're going to pour up, family. Any ancestor that you want to bring into this, this bill, just call upon their name, and, we'll get started. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe.
Permission from the ancestors to slap the hell out of them with the truth today.
Yep. Yep.
Granted, granted. All right. So now let's revisit that question again.
Okay. Well, my question was, why haven't we heard of the Moors in school or in history classes?
Right. And interesting. And we'll recap it. And I'll start as if I never answered. So now, if you have a people that their history is vast, and all of the artifacts and all of the architecture throughout the ages dates back to these people as being the grand architects, from the
Hmm.
pyramids that are older than in Africa, found here, all of these shrines and all of these things that people laid claim to, because the people that own it, the heirs, don't know they're related to them. They don't even know they exist. So by hiding this name, Moors, now that name is tied to a history. A history that's not hidden, it's just a history that no one speaks about, because it's
Yep.
all around us. Like it's buildings in Memphis, it's buildings in Chicago that still have the Moorish architecture. Buildings all over Philadelphia. These buildings were built before these guys got here. See, we think
Hold
that
on.
this came from somewhere else.
Hold on. Somebody's saying no sound, but I
Oh,
can hear you.
yeah, I can hear you too. So maybe they start messing with certain people's pages. So maybe the sound will go back in Noble. So just keep tuning in. But anybody else, let me know if the sound's out. But yeah, we can hear each other. So we're not even gonna give no energy to any technical difficulties because the ancestors got it. But yeah. So in Philadelphia, a lot of the architectures, the mosque, and all these other religious buildings, they were intact before these people showed up here. The original White House was in Philadelphia. There's a great
Oh,
movie.
okay.
Yeah, there's a great movie, National Treasure, with Nicolas Cage. Check that movie out because they're giving up a lot of keys and all the
Can
history
you
here. It's in America. National
hold
Treasure.
on? You sure? I don't remember.
Yeah, you might have seen it, but when you revisit it and you start looking for the keys, it's going to be a totally different movie you're going to watch. It's going to be a different
Yeah.
perspective you get from it. But like I said, they show us the lesser magic. They put all this stuff in the movie, but the whole point of hiding the name and not giving any history classes on it was to cut the heirs off from the history of their ancestors. Because if you never heard of the people you're related to, how do you know you're related to them?
Hmm.
How do you honor them? If you're looking around and seeing everyone stealing their culture and you can't honor their culture.
Yeah, it's important to know who you are. I mean, that's why history is important too. Some people don't care where they really come from, but I do care. I always had questions, you feel me? Because I just heard, yeah, America, and then black people came from Africa, but from where? And it's just weird, you know. And then people told me that in my family are Blackfoot or used to be Blackfoot Indians and stuff. It's still like, that's
See,
not enough, you know. I would like to have more details.
yeah, and all of these, all of these stories are choppy. Like, all of us as children, we remember, the little saying, you got Indian in your family, you got good hair, and all this
Hmm.
other stuff we would be brainwashed with. But they originally called us the American Indians. You see, we were different tribes, so many people had different spiritual practices. So we looked different in variations, but the tribes respected each other. But we were all family. It wasn't until they started to change the names, and then everyone,
Yeah.
yeah, and they forgot where they're from.
Also, what I'm wondering sometimes is if you have so-called black people that say that they are native, you know, like native Indians or whatever, and then they say, and they also black. I'm like, what you talking about? You know that the native is you anyway, regardless if you say, oh, my dad is the black, whatever, what they would call it, African American, and my mother is Cherokee. It's like, it's still the same people.
But do you see that there's an identity crisis taking place? You see, you have
Yeah.
a large group of
Yeah.
people that, you know, in their ego, they know that they're tied to something great. They know that they're tied to the original people. We all agree on that. But then when it comes time to naming the original people, we start talking about colors, and that's
Yeah.
not going to fit in history because people were never being looked at as colors to identify them, let alone their race or their pedigree and their bloodline and their lineage. That's like that's a trick that's been played on a large group of people that seem to outpopulate the land. So, as I mentioned, 1492, from 711 AD to 1492 is when the Moors ruled the world. We were different tribes, different areas. There's not just Moors here in this place. There's Moors all across the world. Once you understand what we're talking about, because they call them the Olmecs, they call them the Mayans, they call them the Aztecs. All of these changings of the names was to disassociate you further and further from the culture, and you just say, oh, those are big head Mexicans. I beg to differ. Why would Mexicans be making statues of slaves? They look like my ancestors, your ancestors, like,
Hmm.
and no one can explain it to us. And they just tell you, oh, that was a part of the old world. So in 1492, the old world disappeared. This is when we fell as a people. Our names get changed, and now it's the new world, and everybody's coming to stake a claim on it. They're coming to discover it. So 1492 is the same time Columbus fits in the timeline of it. So this is why they never mentioned the word or ever gave a class on the culture of who the Moors were.
Okay.
And interesting, it's interesting once you start digging into our culture and you see that
Hmm.
everyone has been taken apart from it. They know who we are.
But what do you think is the reason that they try to hide it so much from us, that they put so much effort in it to keep this information away from us? What is the reason for them doing it? What are they afraid of?
Okay, if I came into your house and I said, I'm discovering this, it's my house, and I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. So I got to try every tactic to convince you that this isn't your house. You're from somewhere else. All your family pictures, everything's in the wall. You like my grandfather built the steps. You remember everything in the house, but they're still saying, nah, you're a visitor. Somebody dropped you off, and they have no trace of the slave ship, not even one. And we don't have a problem with that. Now, one museum has a slave
Hmm.
ship. It can show you like the painting, stacked like sardines, 300 people in the bottom of a ship, which scientifically is impossible because the buoyancy of a ship, right? You have to have water for these people. So the buoyancy of the water and the weight of the people, it'll be hard to steer this on the roughest ocean of all of the oceans, the Atlantic Ocean. It's impossible. And it would be
Hmm.
costly. One of their voyages, one of the so-called Columbus's voyages, would cost today in the amount of $4 million. They didn't have it to like we're gonna be joyriding on the seas. It didn't happen like that. And believe it or not, they didn't have their passes. So these other nations, remember, if we ruled the world and we had empires throughout the world, You couldn't pass through our ports if we didn't know who you are. So in a lot of my earlier builds, I went over something called the Barbary slave trade, where we would seize so-called United States ships. In Africa, we would seize their ships that would be cruising by Africa with no papers. This is what they're hiding. This is why they got to tell you that you're nobody and we're the tough guys that took everybody. And nope, it happened in reverse.
You're gonna have to send me maybe some links or maybe some keywords so that I can look this up, because that sounds really interesting, and then I would like to dig a little bit deeper.
Even better, I'll send you the video I did the build on, and I'll send you the link to the reference of the book. Yeah, and believe it or not, the book was written by a naval captain who was captured. His ship was captured, and he worked for the U.S. Navy. And guess what? For 2 years, they've been trying to raise money for ransom because the United States wouldn't pay the ransom to get these white slaves back. Now, their first churches here in America, they wasn't collecting tithes. They were raising ransom money to buy back their white slave brethren. This is
So
why
they just kept the system of people giving money to the church. It used to be for the ransom money, and now it's for God, for Jesus, because God needs money. Okay.
But the funniest thing, the original Constitution here, it states it clearly that, you can pray, to whatever God you believe in, and you're not obligated to pay any tithes. That's in the Constitution. But they're aware that the people don't read it.
Yeah. And that's crazy anyway, that people give so much money to the church and then they don't even give the pastor a side eye when they see him in nice suits and stuff.
Yeah, that's because the pastor gets his his kickback. There's a document called the Secret Treaty of Verona. I want you to check that out. Secret Treaty of Verona. And it's
of the Roman?
Verona. Verona. Verona.
Okay.
So the doctrine. The Secret Treaty of Verona, Article 3 of the Secret Treaty of Verona. It states that the clergy, that's talking about the pastors, the clergy, they get a kickback by keeping the people in a state of passive obedience. It's listed word for word in there. They get a financial incentive. That's the 501c3 nonprofit corporation that they set up in the name of God. And God don't have a bank. You see, they're all in on this. It's just they want us to be blind followers because it has nothing to do with God.
Of course, and people don't ask questions or even think about it. They just blindly trust.
Yeah, your relationship with your Creator is a private thing. That's personal. You shouldn't be in the streets hitting somebody over the head with your book. That's for you. And whatever I choose to call the Creator, He hears both of us. He hears both of us. Anyone trying to get us to fight, that's someone profiting off the chaos.
Yeah, or when they say that the Pope is the closest to God. Even as a child, I was like, that's not true. I even told my mom, I don't give a flying F about the damn Pope. He's not closer to God or to anything in this universe than me,
Yeah, so here's the fraud, right? The Pope is not voted in. You know that? You can't vote him. Private people select this guy. It's no vote for the Pope. So do you see it's God's right-hand man? Nobody votes him in. They just throw a name on a hat. You see what, the strings that are being pulled. So, let's get into what was the next question you had.
Okay. Hold up.
Islam to the family tuning in. Peace, love, and light. Give thanks for the support. Share this. We just, family, building and just, spreading and showing the love from both sides of the planet right now. And the ancestors are smiling down, and they know that this time is so valuable to us right now. This time, because of all the distractions and the chaos going on, they don't want you to think. Once you can start thinking clearly, you're going to see the nonsense from what makes more sense. I'm just trying to make more sense. And it's funny how that word more, it's always implied when you want something that's benefit, right? You want more. You want more greatness, more love, right?
Yep. It's like a wordplay.
Of course it is. And you know, I'm going to show you in one of these books from, you know, a good brother from Jamaica. His name is J.A. Rogers. And, you know, he goes in and he shows, you know, the word more spelled in many different variations and many different depictions of more that are on many different flags of countries around the world. So they forgot who these people were. We came through and civilized all these people. We had the world's largest library. People came to America to come to the university. This is what they're hiding. A lot of our stuff was in what you call Central America. No, we did a lot of our building, a lot of our scientific experiments, all of that down in this area because of the energy grid where the location of you know, where those countries are.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the book here. Nature knows no color line. Mixed. You see, when you understand what happened here, who was buying and selling, our hands are all in this. We're fighting with each other. We're fighting with our own people, you know. And here you go, another mixed Albion. You see, she could pass for a so-called European.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. See, we didn't go by these names, you know, because if we are the original people, then everyone has to be mixed from us. So which means, you know, like if you have the original bloodline, how can we be the knockoff from nobody slaves from nowhere Africa when our bloodline populated the entire planet? It's proven by going to any four corners of the world, talking to the true natives. They're going to be darker than me and you, but they're not black.
Yep.
They're not black. That's the disconnect. It's some more mix.
Hold up. Okay, I see it. But some of them is really hard to tell that they are mixed.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can see it even in black and white, you can see the so-called lily white features, but then you can see our features. Case in point, there was a Supreme Court case, Morrison versus White. I want you to check this out. It's gonna blow your mind. Morrison versus White.
You got to say this again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So what did you say? Against white?
Morrison. So Morrison. Morrison versus white. Yeah, versus white, like the color white.
Okay.
And this case is gonna blow your mind because I'm just trying to break the spells of the myth of how they said the slavery story went. So now Alexina Morrison, this was a so-called white slave who was sold to another white slave master, and she said, I'm white. They had to prove, you know, because they said she got Negro features. But she had the blonde hair and the blue eyes, but they said, yo, she's a Negro. So they had to trace back to see if her mother was a slave, then she was a slave. So they wasn't juggling off her looking as white. They said, you're still a Negro. So which means they brought her around the family. This is the funniest case you're going to ever read. They brought her around the family, and they passed her around. Like, the dad tried to give her off to his niece as a present, then his nephew. Like, they were, like, just trading servants off like Christmas cards. And the uncle said, you will not have this white Negro amongst us. This white Negro amongst us. So, but the crazy thing in the outcome of this case, that she had some other white immigrants that were slaves too, that wanted to be white. They rallied behind her. Angry mob rushed the courthouse. They made sure that she was found not guilty, even though they proved that she was a slave her whole life, her mother, and all of her siblings.
But I find it interesting because, especially on Facebook, I read a lot of different. I read a lot of different posts and comments, and people be like, mixed people or people that are biracial, they don't belong to the so-called black race, And I'm always like thinking to myself, this is so stupid. I mean, I do understand, okay? I do understand where some of these people are coming from,
All
okay?
right.
I do
I'll
understand
add
what might be in there, but
I'll add to this, right? Just because that conversation goes on forever with them. But this is that case I mentioned. They go by one drop of our blood. We're more. So they call them mulatto. Any other race mixed with a Moor was described as a mulatto. You understand what I'm revealing? So this so-called Albion, she had blonde hair, blue eyes. They said even 4 generations removed, you can still have Negro features in there. So many of them, they were trying to throw that white card out, but it didn't exist in that time. They were white slaves. 1870 was when they all got their chance, you see, because before 1870, if you ask any of the so-called Europeans, do you know any of your family's history in the 1800s? Don't know. Everybody draws a blank. So our history was wiped out and theirs was wiped out. And it was replaced with 2 legal statuses that we think of colors. Now, do you see what's
okay.
going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to go back if you don't have any papers. I mean, they wouldn't give you no papers about your like your family tree. I mean, you know.
This is why we had to create our own. See, and you know, I should have got it. I'll give it. I'll show it on the next build, but I showed it on one of my earlier videos. I had my family's tree scroll, and it's like 2 city blocks long. And my grandparents and my aunts, they all prepared that. That was the work of the women because they were keeping the history intact. They were the griots. They were the ones you sit down. Grandma's gonna tell you the story about the family. You see, like now, grandma's turning up in the club and she's getting drunk. Grandma, ain't the same grandma today. So, we understand that this is how they played the trick on us. Many of us didn't keep records, and we only went by what was on the census record. 1895, they start to burn the census records out of nowhere. Some offices caught on fire, kind of like 9/11. And and after this, every 10 years they do the census recording. So, by 10 years and 10-year increments, I'm going to show you the change. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to hold that. I'm going to go into the actual chart when it shows our names being changed, and they allowed us to self-identify. So if I gave you a name that doesn't exist, and the land I said you're from doesn't exist, but you, on your own confession, use that name, you're liable. And they allowed us to self-identify and never explained to us that Africa, America, that's not a real people, not a real place. Doesn't have a flag. Doesn't have a constitution.
What was the name of America before they named it America? Do you know that?
A Mexim. A Mexim. You see, it goes by many names if you want to call that, but the variation of America, the plane of the word America itself has the word more in it, M-E-R. You see, more was spelled in many different variations. Because they try to say, Amerigo Vespucci, the European settler named America. That's false. It was America long before that. Many of these people came to places unknown to come here because this place was known.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, Christopher Columbus didn't. How you say that? He didn't explore America, whatever. People say that somebody with the last name Americano, whatever,
This is
that he discovered.
Amerigo Vespucci. That was the myth they put out there.
Yeah.
It was America long before. I can show you maps and charts long before that stuff. See, and that's where. Let me go into something. I'm going to show a cool picture. And this right here is going to show you, the whitewashing of the story of what you call America. But everyone that came here to visit and came here to loot and came here to worship their God and make America great. See, the concept of make America great, when it was great, we allowed all these other foreigners to come here and be somebody.
Yeah.
We allowed them to, worship their God in whatever fashion, unmolested. We shared our resources with these people. That's what they're referring to. But then they're getting back to the nationhood side of it, but we don't understand what a nation is. Nation is family. We're not treating each other like family. All of this stuff is by design. But let me show you this here. Give me a sec. And then I'll go into that chart.
Can y'all hear the audio? Because Frank Burrell is saying that they still hating on the audio and video.
Islam, Morpheus, Islam family, try to bear with it. You know, it goes in and out, family. Like, you know, but anybody else, let me know, family, if we got a large volume problem, because I know they messing with some people's pages where it goes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at this here.
Saying something because I can't hear you. But
do you can you hear me now?
yeah.
All right. This is the older emblem of what you call America. Now, do you see America there? And do you see the people that they called Indians? But what complexion are they?
Yeah, dark skin, really dark skin.
So here's the older emblem. Let me see if I can focus in. Here's the older emblem. I can't really see the writing. All right, well, this is the emblem of Africa. Here, the emblem of Africa. Do you see the same similar people with the dresses?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
complexion, right? So now later, the emblem of America becomes this.
Aww.
Do you see us now? The tiny guys now. We're the tiny guys, and all this new history, the new founding fathers, all this stuff pops up. When we allow them to become somebody, when we civilize them, we created bathhouses all through Europe when these people weren't even washing their butts. The king believes taking a bath twice a month. The king believes it.
But you know what I find very funny is when and when they show Africa and stuff, they always show people running around half naked and you know, but in the pictures they had some really nice clothing, like the clothes that they wore, it looked like it was precious.
Some truth here. They don't froze it up.
Yeah.
Like all right, we back. Okay, so you know, it's a good thing what you went into, right? Like I would see those same commercials, right, where they would show the white lady and they would show these starving kids with their wrists touching and the flies going around them, and then the soft music would play. You would say, "Hi, I'm white lady. You want to save one of these starving little Africans? You know what I'm saying? Send us $59.99." And I would say, "Wait a minute. Before the camera goes on, why wasn't it lunchtime? Why didn't they feed these children?" So then I started to really look. I would say the areas that they're shooting these commercials, this is when the mercenaries came in and they raped the resources from the natives. So now the town doesn't have running water and all this stuff, and then now they can shoot that image around the globe. It's to defame us.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. It's like they talk about Africa being a third world country and is so poor and everything. And I'm thinking, like, why is that? Don't you know they took everything? I mean, not everything, but a lot. You know, they took a lot from Africa, left them with barely nothing. And then now you have ignorant white people who say, oh, these people, they got to do this stuff on their own. They have to rebuild themselves. We help them enough. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the propaganda to show you that, like, on both sides of the world, we're just some poor people. We're just some poor black faces. You see, and that's further from the truth, you know what I'm saying, than anything, because without our participation in anything that exists on this planet, it will be a boring planet. Sports would go off. The news would go off. Nobody would be buying albums. Nobody would be going to the movies. Nobody would be watching pornos. Hey, if that's your thing. Like, everything would stop without our participation.
Yeah, not only that, if we wasn't here, other races wouldn't even be able to live.
Yeah. And now you see that for them to be somebody and act like they always had something, they have to make the world forget about you. They have to make the world forget about your people and your ancestors. And that's the whole thing of calling you some colors and saying you from another continent, and they ain't got no proof to tell you that. And I'm not saying that we didn't come back and forth, because I'm going to go into this book, and it's going to explain the Africans that came here, and they came with, a stimulus package. They came with promise of acres and gold.
You said the Africans that came there?
Many of the Africans that came here, they came here to learn. Many of them came to learn. Some came to loot. Some heard about the gold. Some came about, for the minerals. So some came to just, I'm going to work off as an indentured servant. I'm going to get me 50 acres. I'm going to start a business, get a farm. They had the American dream in mind. So everyone wanted that dream, but we got to understand that people from all across the globe was coming here. But they had to, wipe out the history of the people that was already here.
That just shows me.
Yeah.
That just shows me that I really have to do my homework, because the things that you're talking about is stuff that I haven't heard before, and honestly, it's things that I usually would be like, nah, man, that ain't true. But it's like, how can I say if it's true or not true? I have to, what you're saying, it does make sense, and I think it's important to really do your own research. For real, like you can listen to people and listen to what they say, but I think it's better to do your own research as well.
Yeah, because I go off of the phrase facts over feelings, right? Because someone could be uncomfortable when I share the truth with them. I don't care how you feel about it. Once you research it, you're going to be able to sit with the facts. Then you're going to be talking about it. Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can stand up fearlessly and talk about these things because I got the research to prove it.
Sometimes it's like, you might think somebody's talking nonsense and you'll be like, yeah, whatever, man, you a fool. And then later on, a few years later or a few months later, you find out the truth, and then you know that this person was right, and then you look like a fool. I mean, this happened to me before too, that I was talking and thinking like, oh, what the hell is this person talking about? And then all of a sudden, through gaining more knowledge, I saw that they were right at the end of the day, and then I felt like a fool.
So let me ask you, who's in a better position, the scholar or the fool?
The fool.
Here you go. Because once you know that you don't know anything, you got a whole lot of time to start learning. But once you get to a premise where you're like, I know everything, you got no more room in that brain, can't no one touch it. You can't deal with anybody. You want to do it by yourself. But once we understand that knowledge is an endless pursuit, 360 degrees.
Yes.
It's not going to stop. I'm never going to be able to stop talking about the ancestors, because their story is always going to keep getting added to, because there's more ancestors being born every day.
I was thinking to myself a longer time ago, like, in a way that there is a limit. Like, you can gain a lot of knowledge, but then there's like a limit to it. But now I understood too, through time, that there is no limit. It's an ongoing process. And this is actually what I love about it, because I love learning new things. I love gaining knowledge. I love, my bad. Hold on. But I love getting closer to the truth, and I hope it's never ending. That would be boring if that was ending one day and then everything. You just sit there like, dang, yo. Because I live for this, I live for information. I live for knowledge and wisdom. This is like the best thing to me. But a lot of people, they don't want to know these things. Like, that's why I'm saying I don't have really friends. I don't, because I cannot talk to these people. I mean, I do have friends, but it's more over social media. I don't have nobody around me because I cannot talk to.
Yeah, you got those spiritual friends. We're all dealing with that same thing. We're surrounded by zombies that don't want the truth. They want the truth fast. Yeah.
I even had a former best friend that told me, you know what, Benita, I don't want to hear the stuff that you're talking about anymore. And I was like, right then and there, I could feel and I knew that this friendship won't last any longer, because I was like, yo, I have to talk about the truth. And if I talk about chemtrails or whatever, I have to talk about the truth. I don't want to talk about getting my nails done or my hair or makeup, or you can talk about this, yeah, but I don't want to talk about this shit all the damn time. You feel me?
Right, right. Because you mastered the lower self, and now you're trying to find some substance for the spirit, right? We all get to that point. We all been, distracted and trying to live that life, and then we come to our senses and say, why are we not full? Why are we not whole? Why are we still searching for something? If all that fun shit that we thought we were doing and turning up, we thought all that stuff was so cool, why we don't enjoy it anymore?
Yeah, and also a lot of people also are afraid of the truth. Like, they like, you know what? It's interesting and you are right, but I don't want to hear it because it just makes me scared. And I'm like, how can you be scared of it? How can you be scared of the truth? You know what? I would be scared of not knowing the truth. That's something that would scare me like a mug. Like, I want to know what's true, and even if the truth is uncomfortable or whatever, I still want to know it. I can rather live with the truth and know what to do with it or how to deal with it than knowing that something ain't right, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, when you're looking at people who use their ignorance as an armor, when their ignorance is their armor, it's like the truth becomes kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes kryptonite. It's deadly, because once you possess the truth, now you have a responsibility. Now you have an obligation to pass on that truth, and it's a big deal. It's a big responsibility for a lot of people that been living their whole life irresponsibly.
Because
that's what to do.
Because it does open, it's like it's opening a door in your mind. Like they say, the third eye opens, and once it's open, you can't close it anymore. And then it's like ignorance is a choice. Once you know the truth, you have to decide, what you're going to do. And some people just decide to close their eyes and just to be like, you know what, this never happened. I'm just going to keep on, doing what I've been doing, because it's just, the truth also requires change in your way of thinking, in your behavior, in the way you see the world. And this is just too much for a lot of people. I mean, I know I have a lot of things to improve when it comes to myself, but I'm willing to do that no matter how hard it is. You feel me?
Yeah, because, all right, when you were a baby, could you learn everything in one day?
Nope.
We're still those babies trying to cram everything in one day when we're supposed to be taking our time. We're supposed to be spiritually crawling. It's like we're physically up walking and running, and everybody's so fast and so busy, but spiritually we're crippled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Holy Spirit's around here.
Yeah. You said that pretty well. It's true. It's true. And that's why we are in the condition that we are in.
Yeah, and once we understand that it has to start individually, meaning your thinking has to change, mine has to change, his, hers, before it's everybody gonna wake up, because that's the excuse that's stopping people from doing the research, because their response would be, everybody's not gonna wake up, everybody's not gonna want to hear the truth, or it's not popular. You're not worried about everybody. You're supposed to look in the mirror and be worried about self. I, self, law, am master.
Yeah, just imagine everybody would do that. The whole world would change. So you don't have to try to go and change other people. They have to do that themselves, or not change, but improve.
Yeah, because the only thing constant is change, right? If you went a whole year and you didn't change your drawers, that would be uncomfortable, wouldn't it? So look at that. So just think of the people that went 30 years of their life and they never changed their thinking, not one time. That's like wearing spiritual drawers for 30 years.
That's sad.
And they're spiritual folks.
That's sad. If I think about how I used to be maybe like 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I'm glad that I am who I am now. And then who knows, when I look back, like 20 years from now, when I look back, I'll probably be like the same thing. I'm glad I grew more. I'm glad I elevated myself. You know, it's important to change. You can't just stay the
You know
same
how,
way all your life.
yeah, you know how people say, well, you know, this is how I am, and if you don't like me, I'm not going to change for nobody. Whatever isn't changing is dying. It's not growing. The leaves change on the trees. You know, like everything has to change.
That was a
And
good one.
yeah, we gotta usher in the change. You know, we can't be just like, you know, well, I'm just gonna do this way in my own comfort zone, because life is always gonna make you uncomfortable because it's trying to push you to the next level. We always
Yeah,
leveling up. You know, we always leveling up, and that's what that spiritual ascension is about. It's about leveling up.
yeah, but people are hard-headed, ignorant. They think they don't have to do nothing. Like I used to be like the same. I used to be like, oh, I'm me. If somebody doesn't like me, I don't care. Why should I change and why should I improve or whatever? I'm me. But that's just straight up ignorant. And I had to learn that through time too, that you can't think like this. Of course,
Yeah,
if you are with somebody and this person
yeah,
wants you to totally change, then okay, but you have to improve. That's the thing, to improve.
yeah. That's like you get with somebody and you're a rose, and they like, yo, I want you to be a sunflower. Like that's a drastic change. It's like I'm a rose. You
Yeah.
like they ain't say, well, be a brighter rose, or a nice standing up rose, or a better smelly rose. You like, nah, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a sunflower. That's an
Yeah.
expectation that you can't
Yeah.
do.
Yep. That's a good example.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's
That's a
why
good
many of us,
example.
you know, we fall short in finding what we want because we don't know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We can't, if you could put it in words, because first you think it, then you write it, then you speak it, then you sign it and you seal it, and the deed is done. So like if we had to write down what we wanted in a mate, and we had to describe them, we couldn't describe them. But when we get with each other, we got a long list of checklists of things that
Mm-hmm.
we disagree with, when
Mm-hmm.
we should have made a disclaimer before we, you know, made it happen.
Yeah, people argue too much, especially over social media. It's
Yeah,
sickening sometimes. And then especially with adults, it's like you grown-ups, you can't even handle it. If somebody else has a different opinion than you do, then you always got to get all offensive, call people names, and get all crazy. I'm like, man, I mean, I'm not saying I'm holy, but I'm saying that I am respectful as long as people are respectful towards me. And just because they have a different opinion or a different way of thinking doesn't
yeah,
mean that I have to call them names.
yeah, exactly. We have to uh, respect each other's minds, right? Because an
Hmm.
opinion shouldn't be something that comes from an asshole, right? You know, like an opinion, you know, your opinion can come from a good place. See, everyone says, "Well, this is my opinion." No, no, no. You gotta scan that. I don't think that's an opinion. I think that's an attack. I think that's a spiritual
Yeah.
onslaught. You know, it's not an opinion. Most people don't even know the definition of opinion, or they don't have enough information in their spirit to give an opinion.
Yeah, but it's hard sometimes for people. I mean, it's like the same if somebody comes up with something where you just think, what the hell you talking about? You feel me? And then it's just such a thrive inside of you that you want to correct it. You like, nah, 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 nah. But it's cool, you can go back and forth, maybe even argue. But there's no need
Yeah,
to be disrespectful. That's my thing. This is
yeah,
the
yeah.
net.
Because that,
I had a lot of times on social media, and I just can't stand it.
yeah. Well, you know, that's that spiritual fight being shown on the physical side, right? That's the fight these people got in their own personal temples, where they're not being heard spiritually. Their spirit is not being heard. Maybe their ego is drowning out the voice of the spirit. So the first chance they get to speak to a good spirit, they're gonna lash out at you because they're not
Hold
spiritually
on
being
one
heard.
second.
So,
Your screen froze,
all right.
but I can hear you.
Yeah. So they're spiritually frozen, because they haven't been getting heard, because the ego drowns them out. Huh? Yeah. Now I was actually doing a joint. So, yeah, I moved to the other side. Yeah, family. So when you really look at this, people
Upset because they're not being heard. Yeah. Give me a second, family. We're gonna try to bring the Empress back in. Give me a second. Yep. All right, Islam family, we back. Yeah, the young brothers in here using the computer. So family, we're gonna try to see if we can get Nita back in, because they just they on their BS. They just threw out. So all right, family. So let's see if we can get her back in.
Hello. Okay, now I can't hear you, but it just worked perfectly. Can you hear me? I just see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. I cannot hear one word that you're saying. Facebook on that bullshit again.
Now, can you hear me?
Ah, yes. Ha.
Cool. We're back. All right, cool. I don't know what happened. Once they threw you out the video,
Why did they kick me out, man? What did I do to get kicked out?
that's some spiritual